And 3 championships to really have to expand this game and more or less do a lot of the work. And that's very frustrating. I think he had a very frustrated year last year. I think he's very motivated because of the possible renewance of more of a challenge with myself and some of the other players. Hopefully we can help him out quite a bit. And he's a heck of a talent, and hopefully I can take some of that leadership role away.
What's your perspective on the upcoming playoffs?
What does it mean to have the support from your peers around the league, like you receive in terms of welcoming you back?
Well, it's great. I mean, I really feel that's a very motivational factor for me. I mean, I really didn't anticipate them not wanting me to come back or hated that I came back. I really think that they have similar loves for the game, and I probably would give them the same respect if they left the game and then came back. I mean, I think that's a mutual understanding.
Michael, what was the biggest roadblock remaining?
Actually, even before you announced that you were coming back, the week before, the 5 companies that use you, the largest ones that use you as their chief salesman on TV, had their stock go up $2 billion, an average of 4%. What will this mean to you? And even if it doesn't mean a penny to you, what will it mean to the companies that you work for off the basketball court?
So I'm CEO of all those companies now, huh? Well, quite frankly, they were really supportive of whatever decision I made, and quite frankly, because of the speculation of me coming back, increase, certainly some of their business opportunities, or certainly probably some of the speculation. I'm happy for them. It doesn't trickle down to me. I had my contracts all intact, so it really doesn't enhance, or if I wouldn't have played, it wouldn't have taken away from that. So that wasn't a decision for me to come back and play. It wasn't a financial decision. Neither from my contract or, as you know, it's a moratorium, so certainly I can't talk to the clubs about any extended contracts, and I'm under the same contract that I had when I left the game. So there's nothing under the table. I wish there were, but it isn't. So I'm strictly back for the love of the game, and no added money. I didn't have any stipulations in terms of, Scotty's got to be here, or Scotty's got to get a new contract, or BJ or Phil. I asked for my own, knowledge, but I didn't request at all.
Is there any chance that you'll ever own?
What was the last roadblock that you had to clear before you decided to come back? What was the final thing you had to get out of the way?
Well, I mean, it was just, I had to really evaluate and make sure that it was a decision that I wanted because I love the game, and not that it was something that I was doing because I can't play baseball. So it was I had to evaluate my love for the game, and it's strong, and I'm very happy to be back here playing the game of baseball.
If you'd been more successful in baseball, would we be here today?
I don't know. I think I was improving. I mean, certainly with the strike, it limits what I could improve because of the situation, either playing in the games or not playing in the games. But I can't say that if I would have still been in baseball, I would be in the majors. Whenever the strike came, ended. But I was making progress, and I felt that whole situation really confused the issue for me. I was there strictly for the love of the game, not for the financial aspect of it.
Michael, you started down here. Are you going to be traveling with the team the rest of the
Oh yeah. No.
What's your perspective on the upcoming playoffs without a dominant team?
I think the upcoming playoffs is pretty open. I mean, naturally you got your favorites. Everyone's going to have their favorites, but I mean, this team may have an opportunity to do that. When I looked at it and I evaluated, I think we got the last 7 championships have been won by 3 teams. Chicago, or 7 out of 8, Chicago, Detroit, and the Lakers. And the Lakers been kind of rebuilding, and Detroit's rebuilding, and Chicago's got 4 of those or 5 of those players that's been on that championship team. So we know how to play in those type of situations, and that may give us an edge that people tend to forget about.
Was part of it still talking about you know, not robbing yourself of your 4 years in your prime of not robbing?
No, he never gave me the conversation. He gave me the conversation before I left.
Right, but it was part of your decision to come back, not wasting the few years you have left, or how many ever years you have left. Was that part of your thinking?
No, I think, you know, quite frankly, I really felt that I wanted to instill some positive things back to the game. You know, there's a lot of negative things that have been happening to the game. And I guess in terms of me coming back, I come back with the notion of, you know, the Magic Johnson and the Larry Birds and the Dr. J's, all those players who paved the road for a lot of the young guys. And you know, the young guys are not taking care of their responsibilities in terms of maintaining that love for the game, you know, and not let it waste to where it's so business-oriented that, you know, the integrity of the game is going to be at stake. So, you know, I'm back for those guys because I'm able to come back. Some of those guys are not able. If they could, I'm pretty sure they would.
Were you under pressure to cross the baseball picket line, or were you afraid that issue might come up?
Well, I mean, it was one of those issues that really was confusing, but it's a dead issue, so certainly I don't want to get into that. I mean, I'm not a part of that anymore, and I hope they settle that situation, but something that, you know, truly I don't have to worry about right now.
Michael, you had no dunks today? You had no dunks today. Were you jealous of Wennington? He had some big ones.
Yeah, I mean, every time I went to Hawaii, it seemed like...
All right, you have been listening to Michael Jordan. Air Jordan back as a Chicago Bull today, speaking with reporters in Indianapolis after the game between the Bulls and the Indiana Pacers. Unfortunately for Michael Jordan, his team was a loser today, 96-103 for Indiana. We're going to take a little break now and return with some more news and then more CNN World Report. Please stay tuned.
In baseball than it is in basketball. I'm more exposed to the fans and to the public in baseball, far more so than in basketball. But I think it's something that, quite frankly, it's been bestowed upon me that I really didn't ask for. And no matter how I look at it, I'm going to have to deal with it at some point in time. But I do know how to deal with it, and certainly you know, it's never going to affect my decision in terms of what I truly love to do, you know, and I want people to understand that.
Is winning a championship this season, at this point in time, too great of an expectation placed upon the Bulls?
No, I don't think so.
I've heard some say that perhaps championship is not that paramount on your mind, that this second tour is more of a fun tour.
Everything was fun. I mean, I played for fun 9 straight years, and I mean, we so happened to win championships in those 9 years. I mean, I'm still in the same mode of trying to win championships, and at the same time, I'm trying to have fun too, Lacey. I mean, you know, if I was just here just to deal with you guys on a different frame of mind, then, you know, I'm wasting my time. But I love the game, you know, and that's the reason that I'm here. I mean, it's not, you know, financial or whatever, you know.
Did you miss all this attention?
I wasn't expecting this. You know, I think that I was a little embarrassing for this whole situation. I mean, with all what was happening over the last week, it was very embarrassing because, you know, I'm human just like anybody else, and everyone was treating me as if, you know, I was a god or something, and that was a little bit embarrassing. But I can't tell you how to do your job. I mean, you know, but it was very embarrassing for me.
Did you think this would really happen?
You know what? You know, when I was, this is ironic, when I was down in the minor leagues, every guy wanted to play me in basketball. You know, I used to play on Sunday with some of the players in Arizona. We used to go and rent a gym and play pickup games, you know, and I'm saying these guys either they think I'm retired and scrubs, or maybe they're like me. They believe they can be a basketball player as much as I think I can be a baseball player. But I mean, each time that I played, my appetite got a little bit, you know, wetter.
Mike, do you anticipate being back next year? And if so,
I hope so. I hope it's...
your presence to act like a magnet to any free agents that will want to play on a championship team?
I mean, that's a career decision. I mean, that's something that I truly try to stay away from. I mean, you know, if you feel that from a financial standpoint, from a family standpoint, that Chicago is somewhere where you could come in and play and make your living, then great. You know, I plan on being around at the end of my contract, and hopefully you don't have a strike or anything to that nature, but you know, I plan on being around to that end.
Michael, and you said you wanted to see this contract.
You're watching live coverage of Michael Jordan's return to the Chicago Bulls. This is WGN TV Chicago.
Is there a possibility of another 1 or 2 years after this contract?
Sure. I never block that out. Never say never.
What do you hope your return will do for the integrity of the game, that comment you made earlier? How do you...
I love the game, you know. I'm not making astronomical dollars playing the game of basketball. Let's not talk about off the court. But I just think you should respect the game and certainly, certainly not take advantage of it. Just be positive people, and you've had some negative situations in the past, and certainly we all can learn from that and be positive about the game and act like gentlemen and act like professionals. That's what we are. And when you don't do that, then certainly the integrity of the game is at stake.
Michael, one of the reasons that Tony came from
lack of respect for the game on the part of some of the younger guys. You talk about that together.
Well, I mean, when you look back at all the great players that played the game and what they tried to pass on is a legacy of being able to play this game for a living. Quite frankly, we make a lot of money playing this game. But that doesn't mean you take this game for granted. And you treat it like dirt. I think for the players that's coming behind you, you want them to be viewed as people and not just dumb jocks or dumb athletes who make a lot of money. They're professionals, and we're professionals, and we're being treated like lawyers and doctors because of the salaries that we receive. So let's act like sensible people and do the jobs that you're asked, and certainly not use it as some sense of power to do whatever you want just because you have those thoughts.
Michael, Tony Kukoc came to the States mainly or partially to be your teammate, and then you retired, and he was really affected by that. Can you talk about what it was like back then with him when you first met him, and when you decided to come back, your exchange with him?
Well, at the time, I mean, when Tony came along, I'm pretty sure he thought I was going to be playing, and he was very emotional, but he was very hopeful about the opportunity of playing with me, and I really felt bad at the time that he's dedicated himself to come here and play and learn the game of basketball, but I didn't really have to be here to learn the game. I think that's one of the reasons that he came here too, was to understand the game of basketball from an NBA standpoint. And I think that's something that he's learned and he will continue to learn. Even if Michael Jordan's around or not around, I think that's something that he truly is going to have to learn. And being that I'm here, I'm going to try to help him out as much as possible.
Can you give us a sense of your emotional state, your mental state leading up to your first game back today?
It was tough. Getting off the plane, starting a whole new beginning, without one supporting factor. But, it was very tough for me to get off the plane. But once I got off, I knew that beginning was beginning, and it was very tough. Let me just say it that way.
What about all the pressure from the
Yeah. Say that again? I'm sorry. Well, I think the expectations now is, well, can he do the same things that he did 2 years ago? That's simple. Yes, once I do those things, how far else do I have to go? And that's the tough part. But I look forward to that challenge. Believe me.
You talk about you had expectations you scored 40 today. Were our expectations unrealistic?
As much in my heart, I would love to prove that, but I wasn't looking to try to prove it, because I knew that I was unsure about a lot of things. I hadn't played in a game in 2 years almost. I lost my timing. I didn't know if my win was going to hold up. I would love to prove that situation to a lot of people who expected that, but it didn't happen.
One last question.
It didn't happen.
So, Michael, did you take your soul searching the league this week when you were making your decision? Maybe start
Oh, certainly. I talked to David and I had to let him know what my decisions, some of my thoughts were, and and see if he wanted me back in the league. So. No. No, it was strictly my decision. And I figured that the 2 games till Friday, Saturday and Tuesday or Wednesday.
So Michael Jordan wrapping up his press conference following his comeback game here at Indianapolis. Bulls wind up a loser Michael winds up with 19 points. Again, 7 of 28 unofficially from the floor. Not his best, but his best is certainly ahead of him yet. And I know he said his shot felt fine and it'll come back. And he expects to do much better in the games coming up this week, 3 of which, by the way, will be on WGN Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. So the comeback is underway. It's a decision by Michael that will make a lot of money for a lot of people, but it didn't pay off in a Bulls victory today. Much more coming up at 9, live from Indianapolis. Dan Rowe, WGN News. Steve and Allison and Rich, take it away.
Hey, Dan, you know, something that we noticed back here as we were watching the game is despite Mike's performance, the intensity of the game with him in it was incredible.
It stepped up on all parts, I think, on both sides. When the Pacers took the floor before the game started, they were slamming balls off the deck, catching them, jumping up and down, high-fiving. They were into it, as well as Michael Jordan. I think the Bulls came out a little bit more hesitantly than the Pacers did, and I think that cost them early in the game, got them behind, and then they weren't able to catch up and come back all the way, although they did catch up and send it into overtime. Okay, Dan, we're going to let you get out of there before you get run over by that horde of media. Thank you so much for joining us, okay? Okay. See you tonight. Okay. Rich King, it was clear toward the end of this game that Michael and Michael alone was controlling the tempo, just like he did in the old days.
You know, he's a flair for dramatic, no question about it, Steve and Allison. The final minutes of regulation time, he had a clutch play in there with Reggie Miller getting the foul, trying to get the... Yeah. Gave a foul, that was the best play of the game. He had a foul to give. He gave the foul, no free throw involved. They almost pulled the game out. Of course, in overtime, with Miller out of the game, the Pacers won the game. But 2 things that Michael said impressed me at the news conference, and I want to analyze that a little bit. Okay. One is this statement about him being embarrassed by the reference to him this past week of all the speculation of being a godlike figure. And I think that summed it up. A lot of people were thinking, you know, we make a big deal out of Michael. He is a great man and a fine human being, but some people get carried away, and Michael himself said he's embarrassed by the whole situation. The second thing, I think more important, is the slap really at the younger players in the league and some of the image problems the league has now faced since Michael has left. Yeah. You know, you got a lot of bad boys in the league now, a lot of the young guys doing commercials like Michael did, but Michael feels apparently not giving back to the game like he did and respecting the game. And he made a point to really take a shot at those guys and saying, I came back, Irving can't come back, Bird can't come back, Magic can't come back, but I can come back.
Which let's talk about the playoffs, because John Paxson said earlier that he thought that the Bulls could do well in the playoffs, especially because they were so deep. They are deep, and they throw 2 superstars at you now. Michael is the best player in the game. You got Scottie Pippen, one of the best 3 or 5 players in the game, the top 5 for sure for Scottie Pippen. That's an awful lot of talent. You've got a veteran like B.J. Armstrong. The problem they have is going to be on defense and in the middle. They lost Horace Grant, of course, and they need that rebounding in the playoffs. The Knicks can still give it one more shot. They're an older team. They can give it a run. Orlando's going to be tough, even though they're not together right now. So it's they're a contender, though, for the title right now. With Michael Jordan, he's going to get better. 7 for 28. He played an awful lot of minutes today, but his shot will be there before the season's over. Plus, he'll have fresher legs than all the other guys. Right. You know, Barkley and those guys have played the whole year, and Ewing and everybody else, even the Pippen and the Bulls. Jordan's coming in there with, what, 15 games left? He's going to be fresh as a daisy.
As for the Pacers, they were really up for this game, even though they're already a very good team, but they were playing quite well, weren't they?
Well, Dan summed it up, too. And good question, Allison. Michael Jordan elevates the play of everybody. Before this whole thing began, I was watching an old tape of Jordan playing a game a couple of 3 years ago. And the intensity of that game, just on videotape, was noticeable from the way the games are played now without Michael Jordan. He does elevate that. It's like the old Yankee dynasty when some people put on a Yankee uniform, the play elevated in the 50s. Right. Michael Jordan's that kind of character. He brings everybody else up, and he certainly did today. I thought the intensity of today's game was markedly different than the previous game. That was a great game. We lost in the last quarter. Well, it's like anything. If you're with the best, if you got the best, we're the best here on set right now, so we're trying to do the best we can, and that's what Michael brings out. You're trying to get that opponent to raise his game also. Can't wait till he's back in Chicago.
And we'd almost forgotten how intense these games can be. You know?
Well, they are. He's a great talent, and some of the things he said today, he didn't tell us when he made his decision, which kind of surprised me. I thought he'd say, well, I made it yesterday or the day before. He really didn't give a definitive answer on that, so we don't know exactly when he decided to come back. It was in the works for quite some time. I would think in the back of his mind, when the baseball strike hit, of course, it all planned out.